with the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible. We call him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Seabird.
Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. This is a chance where I get to talk and tell, a lot about what my story is, about coming back from combat, dealing with things in society, my transition, a lot of things of that nature. However, it's not just my story, it's the story of our combat vets that are out there that are telling their stories, as well as our sponsors, supporters, volunteers, and other great organizations that are doing things for our veterans as well as our combat vets as a whole. And, there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of moving pieces, there's some amazing things going on out there, and I'm not aware of all of them. But, I know this focuses on Warrior Built and the PTSD Foundation, but there's some other organizations that are doing some incredible things out there. And if you want to get on my show, do something about it, talk about it, let's do it. Hey, today, I got a Marine on deck, Jason Steiner, on the 9th of September of this year. He's doing his second HEROSTOCK event, and that's what we're going to talk about today, him and his story. So, Jason, hey, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Aaron?
Hey, it's great to have you, man. I know you're doing some incredible things. There's some really cool things about Lincoln with a lot of organizations, putting them together, pulling them together, and really seeing where the momentum and everything goes. And I think that's something that you're very adamant about making happen. You're out in Nebraska. You're doing some incredible things on that side of the planet. It's really cool that you and I got linked up for that. But Hey, let's go into your story a little bit, man. I know, United States Marine. Get into that. Why'd you join the Marine Corps? What did that push? And then get into this cool story, man. We talked about it. This HEROSTOCK story is going to be really cool. So this is the second annual. So go ahead, brother.
Well, I joined the Marines back in 1996. I never really had an idea of going to the Marines, going into the military in general. I've got military in my family. My dad was an officer in the Army. Uncle served 21 years in the Air Force. He was a Vietnam vet. My grandpa's a World War II vet. And I kind of was going nowhere in life. And one day I happened to get a postcard from a Marine recruiter that said, hey, give me 15 minutes of your time. I'll give you a set of dog tags. And dog tags are always cool. So I was like, yeah, I'll give you 15 minutes of my time. And so he came down and he went through a spiel of, well, you can do this, you can do whatever you want to. We have bull riding, we have shooting teams. You can be on a shooting team your whole career and do nothing but shoot guns. And I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds cool, but yeah, I'm still not signing. I just want the dog tags. And so he went down to his car and he got his dress blues and brought him in, and he goes, go into the bathroom, button them up and see what you think. And I slipped them on and I buttoned them up and I went, okay, where do I sign? It was literally the dress blues that got me to sign up. Probably one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me was joining the military. It makes you grow up. I was starting to get into trouble, doing some stupid stuff. And luckily, with the Marine Corps' help, I straightened out real quick. So I joined 96. I was 96 to 2000. For 2 years, I was amphibious assault vehicle driver. Made a deployment over to Japan, did Okinawa and then up to mainland Japan, which was pretty cool to see, different part of the country, see something a little bit different or different part of the world. So we got back in 98 and they disbanded our platoon. And I ended up going over to the landmine clearing platoon with the amphibs, which we hauled 3 500-pound tubs of C4 and 3 rockets in the troop carrier portion of the Amtrak. And did that for about 6 months, which that was a pretty cool job to have, get to blow up 500 pounds of C4 in one shot. And then my staff sergeant that I went overseas with, he got moved up to the battalion to be the primary marksmanship instructor. And his assistant was getting out and he said, hey, if you want to come up, we got a spot for you. So he brought me up there with him, and I spent the next 2 years training 1,100 Marines and Navy corpsmen on how to shoot the rifle and pistol. So that kind of concluded my Marine Corps career. In 2000, I got out and and moved back to Nebraska. And as we were moving back, we found out that my wife was pregnant. So I was planning on going to school when we got back, and school kind of took the back burner to working and making money and putting food on the table for the family. And so in 2000, I started my own business, and actually 2001, I started my own business, and I've been doing tile and wood floors and flooring since then. So, when I first got out, I didn't really know much of what was out there for veterans organizations. I knew of the Legion, and I knew of the VFW, and I couldn't join the VFW because I didn't fight in a foreign war. So, I knew of the Legion, and I kind of pushed back from it, with family, business, that kind of stuff. It wasn't until 2019 that I kind of got reintroduced to the veteran community. And I had a couple of the dads at the hockey rink come up to me, and they're like, hey, we went down and we watched the Kansas City Warriors play down in Kansas City, and they did a scrimmage against the Minnesota Warriors. And they wanted to know if I wanted to be part of starting the Nebraska Warriors Hockey Program. And so I said, yeah, sure. I'll jump on board, whatever. And so I ended up being the VP of hockey. I was also did a lot of the events, setting up, running the tables, that kind of stuff. I was also the coach for the team. So it took a lot of time. And I was on the board for 4 years of that. And then September of 2022, I'd kind of had an idea to have a night for our group to just hang out, because being a nonprofit, you never get a chance to just hang out. You're always sitting at a table. You're always running an event. You've always got something to do where you don't get that chance to just be a veteran and BS with the guys. And so my initial plan was to do an axe throwing night. And I was going to set it up to where it was 100% free for the guys and gals to come in of our group, throw axes, drink beer, eat some food, and just hang out. And the more I thought about it, the worse that idea sounded with veterans, alcohol, and axes. So I kind of nixed that plan. But I have a neighbor, he's a Marine, and he came walking down and he goes, hey man, he goes, I've got a band that would like to come in and play. Would you be interested in setting something up around that? So I was like, yeah, we'll think of something. And so I contacted the guy, and he was like, yeah, October 22nd is the only date that I have open. And it was just a single dude that's coming in, does a lot of throwbacks, Willie Whalen, Pete Butler out of Western Nebraska. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll set it up, fire pits. It could be 30 degrees. It could be 80 degrees. We don't know in September or in October in Nebraska. So I was like, we'll throw some fire pits out. We'll have this dude come in and sing and just hang out one night. And about 2 nights later, the same Marine came down and he goes, hey, I've got another band that wants to come in and play. And I said, well, I guess if we're doing this, we're doing this. We're going to make an event of it. And so we brought in the second band and brought in a food truck and set up a cornhole tournament. And it was very short notice, basically 45 days from the day of the idea to the day of the event. We were only advertised on Facebook for about 15 days. And we ended up having about 100 veterans and their families coming out. And so they all came out, enjoyed the day. And kind of as this was starting to go that day, I realized that there was a lot of veteran nonprofits that I still didn't know about. And I've been in the nonprofit world for 4 years now. And I was like, man, there's a ton of local nonprofits that I had no clue even existed. So I said, hey, why don't let's get the heads together. We'll put them on stage, give them the microphone, take 2 minutes, give an elevator speech of who you are, what you do, and how they can get a hold of you. So we ended up having about 12 veteran organizations there, and they all got up on stage. They did their 2-minute elevator speech of, it was kind of a recruitment type deal. And then bands started kicking off, and we had a great time. The night it's about 80 degrees, which is perfect for September. There was no wind. or October. I'm sorry. It was amazing. After the event, my phone started kind of going crazy, and people were like, "Hey, man, you got to do this again. This was so much fun. Let's make this a yearly event." And I was like, well, business, kids, sure, I got nothing else to do. Let's fire this up and make it its own nonprofit. So we filed paperwork in March to become a 501c3. May, we got the paperwork back. We're approved now for a 501c3. But during that, we actually ended up having to change the name. The first year it was called Vetstock. And we kind of played off of Woodstock for veterans. And as we were filing the paperwork, we realized that there was another company out on the East Coast that was basically doing the same thing that we were under that name. So as I was talking to my board members, somebody was like, hey, why don't we make this bigger? Let's include all the nation's heroes. Let's go HEROSTOCK, include first responders and Gold Star families. And I was like, man, that's a great idea. So we ended up changing the name to HEROSTOCK this year, which was a really cool avenue to take because, I mean, you think about it, our veterans, we see 6 to 9 month deployments, some of them a little bit longer than that. But then you get a chance to come back home. These fire and police and corrections, they deal with this day in and day out for 20, 25 years, whatever their career is. So they need that night to kind of kick back and just let the demons out for a night and have fun. So that's kind of what we're doing with HEROSTOCK. And, it's more of a night to just hang out and network, not just person to person, but veteran to nonprofit or first responder to nonprofit. Because we're seeing a lot of crossover now and a lot of opening up in the veteran world to these nonprofits. There's a lot of crossover anyway. A lot of military become police and fire and corrections and that kind of thing. But they're still our brothers and sisters in arms. So we see more of that crossover going now, where a lot of the veterans organizations are going, hey, you're a policeman. Come on, let's go on this ruck. Let's do this. Let's go fishing together, whatever. So we decided to bring everybody together and make the event bigger by including more groups that are our nation's heroes.
Yeah, and I know you have a lot of really cool events happening. And it was kind of interesting when you were talking to me. It was like a 1-day deal, but you have a lot packed up in that. There's an iron butt ride going, which is a 1,000-mile ride, which is, and it's done within, I think, a 24-hour period, I think, right?
Yep.
So that's an iron butt situation that's going on. At the same time, you got the Ruck organization doing its thing. So you got a couple other organizations involved in this to make that happen.
Yep.
Talk about some of these cool events that are happening all on the same day. So somebody's going to miss something. Somebody's going to be on something really cool. And someone's going to be getting some cool stuff. And someone's going to be eating and relaxing. Someone's going to be riding hard. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Talk a little bit about that.
All right. So our event actually kicks off September 8th. Wheels for Warriors USA is working with Randa's Ride. It's a 1,000-mile iron butt ride that leaves Lincoln, Nebraska, 8 p.m. on Friday night. They ride down to Moyer, Oklahoma, down to Adam Sandoval's K River Campground. They're going to do a turnaround at the stage point there for anybody from Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Kansas, Arkansas, Louisiana, wherever that wants to ride back with the group. They'll probably step off from down there, I'm guessing around 2:30 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and start heading back towards HEROSTOCK. They're planning on showing up at about 2 o'clock, between 2 and 2:30, back up in Ashland, Nebraska, where HEROSTOCK's going to be at. We also have Scott Fredenberg with Ruck It Up for Warriors. He's a local nonprofit here. He's doing a leisure ruck march, and it's going to be around 6 miles, 22-pound packs. But he's also brought out a ruck battle. So he's invited surrounding states to come in and do a 4-man team battle ruck to HEROSTOck. Part of that's going to be running with the pack. Part of it's going to be hiking with the pack. The winner of it actually gets a prize. He's going to pony up a prize for them. IW Reverent Warriors, they're going to be coming in to do their Soki hike the same day. And that will start Saturday morning at about 8 o'clock. They'll step off probably around 9. I think they're talking about doing about 7 or 8 miles, pretty leisure, just a hike, hang out, have a good time with your buddies on the hike. The Nebraska Warriors, last I'd heard, they were talking about doing a round robin with a couple of the different teams, and then bringing everybody out to HEROSTOck at the end of that. So there's multiple different groups going to be involved. The Bravo Zulu group is actually talking about, pending weather, parachuting in with an American flag for the anthem. We have static displays that are going to be set up with military gear, military vehicles, that kind of stuff. It's literally changing by the day. We have the Nebraska wall that's coming in from Patriotic Productions that has all the veterans that were killed in war out of Nebraska. That's going to be set up there. We have about 35 different vendors right now that are either veteran for-profit or veteran nonprofits that are going to be coming in. We just paired with Langfeld Overhead Doors, Tactical 88, and there's one more that just picked up the sponsor spot. We got some great sponsors going on, still working on some sponsor stuff, but it's 100% free. There's zero charge to come out to this event, and it's all done through our sponsors. We're going to have a cornhole game going on that day, and the winner of the top 3 to 5 places will get a prize. The first team knocked out is going to get kind of a gag gift prize, just because we have to make fun of military. So we have 4 bands coming in. We've got some really cool bands. Guitars for Veterans, which is a national chapter, but they have a local chapter here out of Omaha. And it's a veteran nonprofit, and they teach veterans how to play guitar. And it's a 10-week course. At the conclusion of the 10-week course, then they give them the guitar that they practiced on, so that they can continue, playing without money out of pocket. Which is a super cool thing to me. It gives them a chance to get out of their head a little bit and just play the guitar, and gives them something to keep their hands busy. The second group we have coming in is a blue collar band from Nebraska. They're out of Western Nebraska. They're a great bar band. They do 80s, 90s, 70s, some covers, some originals. They do just a great job. We're super excited to have them, and they're huge veteran supporters. The third guy we have coming in is Scotty Hastings, and he's an Army veteran, wounded in Afghanistan, took 10 bullets. He has an incredible story. If you ever get a chance, go onto YouTube and check out Scotty Hastings. He's got some great songs that he's bringing out. He actually just cut a song with Lee Bryce. And Dolly Parton found out about it, and she was like, "Hey, I'd like to be involved in that too." So she's actually getting involved with Scotty Hastings' new song that's going to be coming out. Super great dude. Lot of fun. He's got some great stories. And then our final band's actually going to be the Dylan Bloom Band, and he's out of Western Nebraska, also Grand Island area. He's an amazing guy. He's super deep into the veterans organizations and being a supporter and that kind of stuff. He's very energetic. He grabs a crowd. He has a great time. He does a lot of his own songs, but he does some covers too. And he's actually going to be the one taking us out for the night with the band. So it's going to be a cool time. The bands are going to be great. We have a silent auction plan for that night. We've got between 15 and 20 items that we're going to silent auction off. Sounds like we may be getting a remote from Vincent Rocco Vargas, which I don't know if anybody knows him, but he's military. He's on the Mayans MC show that's on TV there. So he's actually going to be popping in to do kind of a remote thing for us. We got a 3-star general coming out. We got a retired lieutenant colonel coming out. We're trying to get Larry the cable guy to come out just to shake hands and kiss some babies and do some photos and that kind of stuff. And, as this thing grows, I think we're going to start seeing more and more people wanting to be involved on a higher level. So.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff packed into a one-day event. We got about it earlier this week, and next year's event's looking like it's going to be a 3-day event. So you can talk a little bit about that. But there's some cool things that you've talked about that is really interesting to me. Is that you're going to have these nonprofit organizations get up on stage and give that 2-minute spill on what they do, what they provide for the veteran community, and how that's affecting things. I think that's going to be a huge piece. And then talk about if some of these nonprofit organizations maybe want to get involved and come to HEROSTOck, how they link it up with you, and not only in the nonprofits, but obviously businesses, and if that's an option, and then other things that if they want to come set up a booth. I remember I think you said you only got 10 spots left or something like that. So I mean, it's almost done. It's filling. And obviously next year is another option for everybody, because this may sound really good to a lot of different people in a lot of different ways, and hopefully it becomes a destination place to go. And there's some really cool things happening in our country for that, and so it's really cool that you're actually doing it. So if you could kind of highlight in some of those areas that I just kind of hit, because those are really cool things.
Sure. So if you want to get in touch with me, probably the best way is to go through the Facebook Messenger, either the HEROSTOCK page, and it's literally just HEROSTOCK. The event page is HEROSTOCK2023. You can also catch me at jason.herostock@gmail.com. That's another great way to get a hold of me. Once we hook up that way, usually I'll grab your phone number and we can text back and forth or give a call. HEROSTOCK.org is another way that you can get a hold of us. Send a message through there. Basically what we're doing this year is for anybody that wants a table or booth, you provide the table and tent if you want a tent. It's a $25 fee. That $25 fee goes to putting all the veteran nonprofits that are going to be participating in HEROSTOCK this year. It'll put them onto a banner so that everybody can kind of see that, hey, there's all these veteran nonprofits out there. The big thing for HEROSTOCK is the networking side of it. I might get a guy that comes to me and goes, hey, man, I don't really like hockey, but, I really like motorcycles. Well, hey, guess what? I got a group for you, Wheels for Warriors USA. They're a great group. They, work with them. But also finding that civilian battle buddy, to have somebody that you can talk to and kind of lean on, because it happens. I saw it last year. It happened last year a couple times. I met people that I'd never met before. Now I talk to them about once a week. It's been a really cool deal in that aspect of it. If you're a nonprofit and you want to be involved this year, like I said, I've only got maybe 10 spots left and they're filling really quick. I think I just filled 2 more yesterday. But again, reach out to me through, the Facebook page, my own personal page, Jason Steiner. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me is that way, or through the HEROSTOCK, at Gmail, jason.herostock@gmail.
Yeah, if you guys, you can always get a hold of you through me. So feel free to hit me up and get you in touch with Jason. No problem.
Awesome. Yeah, and HEROSTOCK next year, we've already, as this thing is pretty much coming together, we're already starting to look at next year. We're thinking either a 2 or a 3-day event next year. There's a good possibility it would be 3 days. I've already had about 7 different veteran bands or singers that I've talked to. They're all on board to come in. They want to come in. They think it's a really cool idea. I'm actually making a trip July 29th up to South Haven, Michigan to hook up with the Primal Outfitters. Josh that runs it, he's a super amazing guy. He's a Marine veteran. He takes veterans, first responders, and Gold Star families on chartered fishing trips for free. Takes them on hunting trips, guided hunting trips for free. Does camping and survival, that kind of stuff. He invited me up because in a lot of areas in the country, the veteran nonprofits don't want to work together. Everybody wants the pie all to themselves. And they think their organization is the do-all sale. And I'm sorry, there's not one single organization out there that's going to cover everybody. So part of what HEROSTOCK does is shows veteran nonprofits that if we all work together, and we all can, there's enough of that pie out there that we can all play in this game together. And the more we work together, the more people that we can help and guide them into the right directions of where they need to be as far as what they enjoy doing. And just showing everybody, hey, there's 66,000 nonprofits throughout the United States. I mean, it's pick your flavor, so a lot of people don't know that, and they find out there's just a handful of deals. Well, I don't really want to do those, so I'm out of the veteran world. No, man, there's something for everybody out there. And that's kind of the cool thing with what HEROSTOCK's kind of become is that centralized, come in and see what we got. I mean, there's all these different organizations. We got from, out of the blue, Farm and Stables, which is local here. He's a small nonprofit. He does equine therapy and goat yoga. We got Deuce Outfitters Ministry out in Western Nebraska. They do hunting trips. We've got Combat Warriors that does fishing trips. We've got Wheels for Warriors USA that does motorcycles. And they've actually got a bigger part in HEROSTOCK this year. They're actually giving a bike to a veteran this year. And it comes with a mentorship program. It comes with riding gear. It comes with gas and insurance for a year. It's really a big deal, and their presentations are pretty amazing. But right now as far as I know right now, we have 12 different states coming in just for this event, which I thought was pretty cool. I figured if we got Iowa, Kansas, and South Dakota, we'd be doing good. But yeah, we've got 12 different states coming in that I know of. We've got 8 different podcasts that are coming in to do lives from the event. We're working on Vet TV right now, trying to get them to come in and highlight this event and, bring their film crew along with them. We have 2 videographers. We have 2 photographers. We have a couple drone pilots. This is going to be our springboard year, and next year being 2 to 3 days, that's going to be even bigger. And we've actually been in conversation right now about turning HEROSTOCK into a concert series so we can take it on the road and doing a 6 or an 8 stop series and presenting a motorcycle at every single one of our stops through Wheels for Warriors USA. But always having the big event back here in Nebraska. It will always be in Nebraska for the final piece of it. So, and that'll always be the biggest one back here. So, but we're hoping to make this a national destination, like you said, where, it's not just our locals that come in. It's a lot of these nonprofits from outside the area that want to come in too and say, hey, look, we do this, but it's on a national level, and we're trying to start a chapter here in Nebraska. So that's kind of what we got going, man. It's growing.
And speaking of podcasts, I mean, you've been on a lot of podcasts. You've said you've been invited to a lot of them. There's some amazing podcasters out there doing some really cool things. Talk a little bit about those, if you don't mind, if you can remember all of them. I mean, 8 of them. That's pretty impressive. I know, you said that these guys are really doing some really cool things. And they do have some really good ones you've mentioned. I didn't get a chance to check them all out, but I was checking some of them out, and they're pretty good. So talk a little bit about the podcasting.
So my very first podcast that I did was 2 drunk dudes in a gun room. Guy's name's Donald Dunn. He actually started Gunroom Radio too, which dedicates a whole radio station to veterans and veteran family members, media members, which is super cool. And dude's paying for a lot of this out of his own pocket. But he does a great podcast. He's coming in. He's going to be setting up and doing, I think he's actually going to try to live stream the whole event. We've got Contagion Effect coming in from California. They're actually not veterans, but their dads were. And one of their dads committed suicide. He's a Navy veteran, committed suicide. The other one, his dad struggled really hard with dealing with the VA. Their whole family did, trying to get him proper care through the VA, and it was terrible. So they created their platform to give a place for veterans to talk, whatever it is, whether it's mental health or events like what I got going on, or a nonprofit. And they do a great podcast. We have Shadow Mark coming in, which they're out of Nebraska. They're going to be coming in to do a live from the event. They're also working with Deuce Outfitters Ministry right now. And I'll be working with, I'm actually part of their board too. But we'll be going out in October for a gala out there to try to raise money so that they can buy land to run an equine therapy program out in Western Nebraska. So we've got Shadow Mark. We've also got Tom Ettinger with HEROSTOCK, and Every Second Counts podcast. Tom actually is developing a app right now for veterans, and that's the HEROSTOCK side of it. He's hoping to have it out within the next year, and it's supposed to kind of revolutionize some stuff for veterans. And I would assume that will cross over to first responders too. Some of the stuff that he's got going on with that. We've got the Field Op has talked about coming in from Florida. Tom Ettinger is Arkansas. We've got Brian Roof with Every Day's a Saturday. He does a great podcast. He's also coming in. We got another one called These Fucking Feelings, and it's FUKKEN. And it's a mental health podcast. They're talking about coming in to cover it. It's just like, I look back at all the ones that I've literally done like 18 podcasts. I think you're number 19 right now. So, and I started in April, I think was my first podcast. So I've covered a lot of ground in a couple months. But, as I put this out there to everybody, it seems like everybody just kind of jumps on board with it. And they're like, man, this is a really cool idea. And they want to push it out and they want to help. And, We the People, Patriots, People's Patriot Project. They're talking about coming in from Minnesota. Bourbon Battle Buddies talking about coming in from Louisiana. Those are all podcasts that I've done. So yeah, man, it's been crazy. Like, the podcasts have been a huge help for what we're doing and pushing the word out and that kind of stuff. And, they kind of got behind what I had in mind, and everybody kind of sees the good that it can do. And so everybody's kind of pushing it, and it's been really cool to see that side of it too. So.
No, it's really great stuff, man. It's good stuff. Everything you're saying, being able to capitalize on all these names that you're bringing up, the nonprofits, the podcasters. I mean, even the Field Op was actually, built off of this one. I mean, Sitch Radio, who manages mine, Brian Colburn, he runs it. And that's Francisco Carrera, a really good buddy of mine. He's like, hey, man, I want to do a podcast too. And split off and really has put his signature out there. It's really great to see that. So all these different podcasts are cool. Everything that you got going. Don't forget, this is HEROSTOCK. It's the 9th of September. It's going to be a really cool thing. You've really capitalized on some incredible things. And I think pulling nonprofits together is like one of the biggest, coolest things you can do, because you're right. Not any single organization can do all the pieces of the pie. Right. But it's incredible to see and work with those organizations. And we can't keep up with them all, but it's nice to be able to know a guy that knows a guy that's went to one of these organizations can vouch for it and say, yeah, it's legit. Because there are some that maybe aren't so legit.
Right.
But we also need to figure out that piece too. But we can only do that by talking to our fellow veterans, what they've gone through, what they've gone through with this organization or that organization. Just like the VA, the VA may not always be the good thing for everybody, but there's some incredible things that it is good for. Right. Hey, real quick, I'm gonna see if Brian's gonna run a PSA real quick on this, and then we'll come back. Any final words, and then to get a hold of you again, we'll go over that real quick, and we'll start that off. Brian, you got a PSA? Any PSA? Feel free to throw it out.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. If you're having a tough time or thinking about suicide, you're not alone, and there's hope. VA's Veterans Crisis Line is full of responders who listen and help. Many are veterans or have veteran family members and friends, so they're prepared to address your challenges. After calling, you'll be connected to the next available crisis line responder. That person may ask, are you thinking of suicide? Or what plan can we put in place to keep you safe today? If you choose, the responder will share your name and personal information with your local VA suicide prevention coordinator, who'll connect you to local VA assistance and resources. Don't wait. Dial 988, then press 1.
Hey, we're back with Jason Steiner from HEROSTOCK, and he's doing United States Marine Corps veteran, putting this thing together for 9th of September. Hey, any last words? I mean, we've had some really cool things. You're very polished in what you say and how you say it, man. If there's anything else you want to throw out there, go ahead and do it. And then if you want to get a hold of Jason, you can definitely do it through me. Like I say about all my guests, you can definitely get a hold of him. But he's going to have his own way of doing it as well. So feel free to throw it out there, brother.
Cool. Yeah, www.herostock.org or HEROSTOCK on Facebook. HEROSTOCK2023 is the event page. We're also on Instagram, HEROSTOCK_. You can get a hold of us at any of those ways, or hit me up on my personal page, Jason Steiner, based out of Lincoln, Nebraska. And at the end of the day, let's just be good to each other.
Hey, thanks, Jason. It's amazing to have you on the show. These guys, these situations, the shows have been really kind of incredible with a lot of the people that have had on lately. And it's just gonna continue being that way. You're gonna hear stories. Gonna find some really awesome nonprofits, some good connecting nonprofits, stuff like that. There's a lot to come. I have a song that me and my wife put together that we put out recently that's going to be coming out, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about that and throwing that onto the intro of my show in a way. I've really been working with a vocal coach and some other things, so some therapeutic effect on my part. But hey, we'll get into that later. But hey, it's great to have Jason Steiner on the show, United States Marine Corps. Hey, this is Aaron Siebert, retired Navy Chief, lucky to be alive after being hit with a mortar round April 2006. Till next time, strength and honor. Out.